I'll give you a warning already. Okay, so this is 1.6 finishing, 1.6 continued. Ooh, I'm in blue. Hold on. Okay, there you go. Okay, finding averages. The very important thing to know is how to find your averages. Okay, when you find an average of any numerical value, you add up all your numbers. So you sum of your numbers. And divide it by how many numbers you have. That's like finding your grade, right? If you want to know your average for the class, you can add them up and find your average. And that's what we're going to do. So let's say, example. Okay, so you currently have quiz grades of 65, 82, 94, 56, and 90. What is your current average? Well, what we would have to do is we would have to add up all our numbers, 65, 82, 94, 56, and 90, and divide it by how many numbers we have. And if you count the numbers, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 5 numbers. If I write down here, I'm gonna put a little dot. Can you see my dot? Yes, okay, good. Okay, I'm gonna write down here. All right, so we're gonna do, I'm gonna make a list. 65. The best way, easiest way to do this by hand is to just add 2 at a time, I think. 7, 8 plus 6 is 14. So I added the first 2. I'm going to add 94 to it, the third number. 7 plus 4 is 11. 9, 10 plus 4 is 14. And 2, 41. And then I'm going to go back over here, so I don't go down too far. And then I'm going to add 56. 6 plus 1 is 7. 5 plus 4 is 9. And bring the 2 down. And I have one more to add, my 90. 7 to 0 is 7 plus 0 is 7. 9 plus 9 is 18. 2 plus 1 is 3. So we have 387. Or did I add it wrong? Hold on. Oh, 2, 94, 56, 90. I had it right, 65, 82, 56, 90. I got them all. Okay, so we have 387. No, I did add it right. Hold on. It's too early. Everybody see my mistake? See it? I see it. No, I don't. 2, 241, 7, 9. No, I got it. Okay. So 387 divided by how many numbers were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our average, so we can't divide 5 into 3, but we can divide 5 into 38. We know 6 times 5 is 30, and 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract. 8 minus 5 is 3. Bring down to 7. So again, we have 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract the remainder of 2. So our average would be 77 point something, and we know our average is about 77. So average about 77. Well, let's say you have another test coming and you want your average up to 80. So you know that you need to get better than 82, I think better than 77 to bring your grade up. By the way, I've been checking your homework. You guys are doing great. Really happy with the results. And remember, if you have a B or higher on your all your homework and a B or higher on the quiz, then I'll add 5 points for each one onto your test. Is the quiz and the test the same thing? No. No, the quiz is up. It's been up for a little bit. It's open. You can take the quiz. And then the test is tomorrow. The test is not open. You won't see the test till tomorrow. That's a question somebody had.
I thought the test was on Thursday.
Oh yeah, Thursday. Did I say tomorrow? I'm just Thursday. Did I say tomorrow? If I did, I meant Thursday.
You did. You said tomorrow. You meant Thursday.
I meant Thursday. Sorry. I'm out of it. Whew. Okay, so here we go. 1.7. Now, one thing about tomorrow that all your tests and all your homework and the quiz is due by tomorrow at 11:59. Make sure you do them. Okay, this section is about 2 very important topics. Exponents and order of operations. We're not going to get into too much of exponents. This is just a touch of exponents. And then later on, we're going to do exponents a lot. This is just to get you started on exponents. So the first thing we're going to talk about, which is mostly the biggest thing, is exponential notation. What does it mean when you have an exponent? What is it? How do you represent it? How do you find the value of it? So if I have 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, I don't have to write 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. I can use exponential notation like a shorthand, and I can write 4 to how many 4s I have. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 to the 5th. And that's what an exponent means. How many times is that number used? How many times is that number multiplied? When we get to algebra, which is, guess what, next section, we can also use that in algebra. So if I just give you a preview, if I say x to the 3 to the 3rd, that just means I have x times x times x. I had 3 x's multiplied together. And that's what an exponent means. And that's called exponential notation. Such a shorthand. I'll call it shorthand. Shorthand for multiplying the same value multiple times. That's what it means to be exponential notation. Okay, with everything else, there's certain words you want to look for exponential notation. So words to look out for that mean exponential notation. So words that mean exponents. I'll just put exponents. Words that mean exponents. All right, words to the power of. If I say 5 to the power of 4, that would be 5 to the 4th power cubed. That would be something like 5 squared, which is also called, well, 5 to the 3rd power, sorry. That's called 5 cubed. Actually, let me write next to it. Take it out and let me go. Okay, this is 5 cubed. It means the same thing. We can do squared. 2 squared. 2 squared means the power of 2. And then you go on from there, like you could say 4th power. That would be like 6 to the 4th power. Make that a little bit neater. Etc. 5th power, 6th power. They're the words you want to look out for when it comes to exponents. Especially, we especially use cubed a lot, and we use squared a lot. 5 cubed, 4 squared, 9 squared. Okay, I see people writing, so I'm going to hold on a sec before I change my page. While I'm waiting, anybody have any questions about anything so far? By the way, if you're somewhat new and you have a question, if you put your space bar down, we can all hear you, you can talk. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, I'm changing a page, I'm adding a page. Okay, so things that will be asked of you to do. Go back to my black. Rewrite each using exponential notation. And we're going to do a couple problems. Okay, so we have 2's multiplied many times. So we know it's 2 to a power of something. We're going to count how many 2's we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we 2 to the 9. Reset so it doesn't get confusing. Two, 3 times 3 times 3. Well, I have 3 3's, so that's how I can write 3 to the 3rd. That's what it means. It means I have 3 3's multiplied together. I wrote that down so you have something if you want to write it down too. It just means 3 3's all multiplied together. A one to be very careful for is this one. I'm going to put a little star here. When you have a negative, you have to be extremely careful. So if you have a negative, all of it is, this time it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of it's the 5th power, all of it. So you cannot put negative 4 to the 5th. If you put negative 4 to the 5th, this is a no-no. If you put negative 4 to the 5th, you're saying I have a negative and I have 4 5's. That's not what we have. We have negative 4 5 times. So the correct way to write that is negative 4, all of it, every negative 4, 5 times. That's how you write that. To be very careful with a negative. So if you see a negative multiplied multiple times, put it in parentheses. So I'll write that down. If you see a negative multiplied multiple times, it needs to be in parentheses. Really important. Okay, questions yet? I still see people writing, so hold on a second. Okay. Okay, so what other thing that you will be asked to do now is to something called evaluate, which means find the answer. That's my words, find the answer. So if it says, anytime you see evaluate, it means find the answer. You can see evaluate a lot in math. We fix my A's to look like 9s. I can't write today either. Must not be my day. Okay, so for example, I might say 9 to the second power. Evaluate means, oh, well, that means, okay, 9 to the second power is 9 times 9. And I know that has to be 81. So see how I evaluated? I took what they gave me and I found the answer. Two. 6 to the first power. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, that just means that it's just 6 multiplied once. So it's just 6. That's all it means. There's 1 6. You can think of it as 1 6. Three. Okay, sometimes, let's try this one first. 11 squared. That just means, see the word squared? 11 squared means second power. That just means it's 11 times 11. There's 2 11s multiplied together, and that makes 121. And then sometimes they will multiply more than one thing. So for instance, 2 times 4 squared. Okay, so 2 is going to stay. And then 4 is 4 times 4. And then just like with adding, I can multiply in any order if I want, but I like to do this first. So that'd be 8 times 4, which is 32. And then what I haven't touched on is cubing. So 3 times 2 cubed. Cube means a 3 power. It just equals 3 times 2 times 2 times 2. So there's 3 2s, 1 3 and 3 2s. So let's multiply this out. So 3 times 2 is 6. Bring down the 2s. 6 times 2 is 12 times 2, which is 24.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
In the order of operations, don't you do the exponent first and then multiply the result of that by the factor before it?
Yeah, we're doing that next. Exactly. When you're multiplying, remember the multiplying order doesn't matter. So I'm actually writing out as multiplying. So it doesn't really matter the
Oh, so
order.
the sum would be the same. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But when we start mixing, adding, subtracting, multiplying, which we're going to do right now, you're like, David, you give me the gateway to where we're going. I love it every time. It's great.
Oh, I need to be quiet sometimes.
No, I like it.
One other question. I might
Sure.
have to use the nebulizer here in a minute. Is that okay? I mean, I'm not smoking or anything.
Of course, of course.
All right. Thank you. I'll be quiet.
Hey, anybody have any questions? That's the end of exponents. That's all we're doing right now. And again, we're going to touch on it more when we get into algebra, because then we start adding, doing things with exponents with algebra. That's just to get us started. Okay, we're going to order of operations. So important, order of operations. And I have found, and it sounds really, really bad, and I'm sorry because I'm a teacher too. I have found that teachers don't always teach it correctly, or the understanding is not there exactly. So I hope I can fix that if it's wrong. Okay, order of operations. So why do we have an order of operations? Because when we give you when someone is given a large value or different operations together, like adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, an exponent, parentheses, we all need to get the same answer. So way back when in math land, they came up with a process of finding the numerical answer to a very complicated problem that has many, many things going on. So order of operations, I don't know if you guys remember or heard of it. PEMDAS seems to be the way they sort of teach it. I see smiles, so I see you understand it. Remember it, right? PEMDAS. Okay. So basically, PEMDAS is the order that you do simplifying or finding and evaluating something. So if you have an expression, you always do the parentheses first. So any parentheses, you have to simplify that first. After the parentheses, you have to concentrate on the exponents. Do you have an exponent? Exponent. Do you have an exponent? Is there more than one exponent? That's where you need to concentrate. So first you simplify with parentheses, and then you simplify with exponents. Now, this is where I find some misunderstanding on PEMDAS. This is multiplying. And this is dividing. Hey, listen, you do not do parentheses, exponents, multiplying, dividing in that order. No, it's parentheses, exponents. It's multiplying or dividing, whichever comes first. So let's say we'll look at this in a second. Let's say you have this long thing you're simplifying and dividing is first. You already did the parentheses, you did your exponents, and dividing is the next thing, first thing you see. You have to divide first and then multiply. So it's whichever comes first, not do multiply and then go dividing. No, it has to be whatever comes first, left or right. You'll see that in a minute. Same thing here, adding and subtracting, whatever comes first. Whichever comes first. And in order for us to have the correct answer, we have to use our order of operations correctly. Okay, I'm going to write down the practice problem. Just practice. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Okay, so if I have 9 times 3 minus 8 divided by 4. I'm going to slowly add things in. I'm going to start small and then add in till we get to be like a little large, but small things first. Okay, so there's no parentheses. There's no exponents. So I go to multiplying, dividing, and I look left to right. You read it like a book, left to right. What comes first? Multiplying, dividing. Multiplying comes first in my order of my problem. So 9 times 3 is 27 minus 8 divided by 4. Notice I wrote the rest of it down because so many people will go, oh, 27 minus 8. You cannot do this next. That is subtracting, that's last. So you have to, again, relook at what you have. If I go left to right, I have dividing. That has to be next. So 27. Now, it really is -8 divided by 4. If you can, in your mind, think a minus is a negative, always think minus is a negative. Minus is a negative. Let me not put it that way. I'm going to actually write it out. Minus is a negative. So if you see a subtract sign in front, think of it as a negative. So -8 divided by 4, which is -2. And a minus is a negative, so -2. And then we put it together, lastly, and we get 25. Number 2, 48 divided by 3 times 2 squared. The line here is to separate them a little bit. There you go. Okay, so we want to evaluate it, find the answer. So I look left to right. Okay, exponents, I mean parentheses, none. Exponents, I see an exponent. So I'm going to do that first. 48 divided by 3. Now 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. I should underline, let me underline. I'll try to underline what I'm doing so you see it. So I did the 2 squared first. Then we look left to right. We're going to do multiplying or dividing, whatever comes first. Well, this time my dividing comes first. So I have to divide first. Let's see, I'll put it over here, 48 divided by 3. So I'm going to do long division just real quick. 1 times 3 is 3. I have 1 and bring down to 8. What times 3 is 18? 6 times 3 is 18. So that's 16 times 4. And then I will multiply 16 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. 4 times 1 is 1 plus 2 is 6. Answer. And by the way, I am modeling the kind of work that I'm expecting to see on your test on Thursday. If you read what I wrote, you're going to be sending me your work so I can look at it and review it. And I should see all the steps, every little tiny step, just like I'm showing you. Okay. I'm checking everybody, see if everybody's caught up. Everybody all right? Any questions? Anything? No. Okay, I'm turning the page. Oops. There you go. Okay, and let's do 3. I have 10 minus 7 cubed to the 3rd power plus 5 squared times 3. I think I have everything in this one. So first, PEMDAS parentheses. So we got to simplify that first. That would be 10 minus 7 is 3 to the 3rd power plus 5 squared times 3. Okay, parentheses done. Now exponents. I actually have 2 exponents. Let me put a little side note over here. If I have to say one power that I always see wrong is 3 to the 3rd, I cannot tell you how many times students will tell me 9. Okay, and I get it because you see 3 and the 3 and you go 3 times 3 is 9. But just remember it's 3 times 3 times 3. And that's actually 9 times 3, which is 27. So 27 plus 5 squared is 5 times 5, 25 times 3. So I did a parentheses. I did my 2 exponents. Let me underline them so you see that I did them. They're my exponents. Now, okay, I did parentheses, exponent, multiplying or dividing, whatever comes first. So let me look. I have, multiplying. So I'm going to do 27 plus 25 times 3. Well, let's see, when I say 25 and 50s, I think money. So no, I think easier to like, I don't know, sort of remember it. So if I have $25 and I have 3 $25, that's just $75. So that's 75. And then I add them together. So let me put over here 75 plus 27, because you know I like to do vertical. 5 plus 7 is 12, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 102. So my answer is 102. All right, we're about to get a little crazy with these. That's my part. I hear somebody. I got a question. What is it?
Hey,
I hear
Miss
somebody.
Garrett. Miss Garrett, so even though you got 64 for number 2 when you did the exponent, I mean the second problem,
Let me go back. Let me go back to a second. There you go. Yes.
even though you got 64 when you did it that way, I also did it another way, and I came up with another answer as well.
Okay, so that's why they have order of operations, so that we had the same answer. So which way did you do it?
I did it your way, but then I also did it another way to see if I was gonna get a different answer, and I did.
Yeah, and that's why you always have to follow the order. That's a good example. So if you do it the wrong way, you're gonna get an answer, but it's gonna be the wrong answer. And that's why you want to make sure you do follow the order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiplying, dividing, et cetera.
But yeah, I did your way first, and then I was like, well, what if we was to like go to the homework or the quiz assignment and it says that's the wrong way? So that's why I was like, okay, let me see if I could try another way and come up with a different answer. So I did.
Yeah, and that would be, yeah. So the only answer that's valid for that is 64.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. That's a perfect example. If you don't follow the order of operations, you're going to get an answer. It's not going to be the right answer. Okay, so now we're going to get a little bit crazy. As you can tell, we're slowly moving up to a little bit longer, right? But if you stay with the order of operations, it just break it down to pieces. That's it. Okay, so here we go. 36 divided by. Now, sometimes you have parentheses inside of parentheses, and they don't really write parentheses inside of parentheses, and they use this thing called a bracket. Bracket is a parentheses, a special kind of parentheses. 20 minus 4 times 2. See how there's a parentheses on the inside, and then the bracket is a parentheses on the outside. Plus 4 cubed, or 4 to the third power, minus 6. So just looking at it,
use the bracket. Do we use the bracket because there's parentheses in the middle of it?
Exactly. You'll very rarely see this, although it's nothing wrong with it. If you prefer not using a bracket and you want to do that, that's fine. But a lot of times your books or your problems won't give it to you that way because looks kind of confusing when it's all parentheses. So they'll give it to you as a bracket, as a different way to show a different kind of parentheses. It's still a parentheses, it's just a different form of a parentheses. It's a good question. Okay, it looks intimidating, but no big deal. We're gonna be fine. Okay, so we're gonna go in order. That's what you want to do, go in order. So in order, PEMDAS is parentheses. So we're gonna work on a parentheses. 36 divided by, I'm gonna have this. Okay, now parentheses, now look inside of our parentheses. We have subtracting and multiplying. So you have to use order of operations inside your parentheses. So do I subtract first or I multiply first? Well, order of operations says I have to multiply first. So I have to multiply this first. 20 minus 8 plus 4 to the third power minus 6. Now, I still didn't simplify my parentheses, which is now brackets, but still parentheses. So now I have to simplify the parentheses. So 36 divided by, now 20 minus 8 is 12 plus 4 cubed minus 6. So look how quick it went, really, really fast. When you do order of operation, it's sort of like when you do it, you're simplifying and you sort of make like a little, like, I don't know what to call it, but the problem's long and then it gets shorter and then it gets shorter and then shorter and then the answer. So it sort of goes like a V, makes like a V. If you do it right, it goes big and it goes short. Oh, so now, I should probably put my equal sign here too. Equals. Okay, now we have parentheses done, gone. Exponent. So I have the exponent to do. So we have 36 divided by 12 plus, okay, what is 4 to the third? Let's see. 4 times 4 is 16. If I multiply another 4, 6 times 4 is 24. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. So 64 minus 6. Awesome. Okay, now I did my parentheses, I did my exponents. Now I'm multiplying or dividing whatever comes first. And I have this dividing, which is the first thing I look at. So we have to divide. So 36 divided by 12. So I know 12 plus 12 is 24. That's 2 12s. And 24 plus 12 is 36. That's 3 12s. This becomes 3. We don't have any multiplying, so now we're down to adding, subtracting, whatever comes first. So I'm going to add first, because that's first. 67 minus 6. And finally, if I subtract 67 minus 6, I get 61. And listen, these take practice. Watching me describe it and do it might seem easier than it is when you're by yourself. That's all right. Just have to practice these. Most important thing is you stay in the order of operations so you get the right answer.
Now, Ms. Garrett,
Mhm.
if you didn't add 64 plus 3, you would probably have a different answer. Say like if you did 64 minus 6, you have probably like 50 something, then you add 3.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you have to do it where exactly. Exactly. If I did the subtracting first, I wouldn't have the same answer as if I did the adding first. That's why you do whatever comes first, left to right. Exactly. Good example. I like it.
That's why I was saying when you went back to number 2 and you got 64 as your answer, you instead of let me go back to it. Instead of dividing first, you would have multiplied first and then divided
Right. Right.
and got a
okay.
different answer.
Exactly. That's why it's always dividing and subtracting left to right. And I know that's what the most confusing part is with multiplying and dividing and adding and subtracting is it has to be whatever comes first, left to right. That's where I find the most misconception with order of operations. It's actually what you're just talking about. Is doing the right order. All right, so I'm going to add a page. We're going to do one that looks a little different. Number 5. We're going to do one that looks like this. 25 plus 8 times 2 minus 3 cubed all over 2 times 3 minus 2. So it's a big divide problem. Or if you want to think of it as a fraction, don't think of it as a fraction. Think of it as a big divide. So what we're going to do is we're going to simplify the numerator. And then separately, we're going to simplify the denominator. Simplify, spell that wrong. And then we're going to put together denominator. So simplify the numerator, simplify the denominator, and then we're going to divide them. All right, so let's just look at the numerator. I'm going to leave the denominator alone. Just let it sit here for a minute. We can definitely do both at the same time, but I want to concentrate one at a time. So if I look at the numerator, I see no parentheses, but I see this exponent. So I got to do that first. So 25 plus 8 times 2 minus 3 cubed. We did that earlier, but let's think about it. 3 times 3 is 9. Times 1 more 3 is 27. Again, I'm just going to leave the bottom for a second, the denominator. And then we look left to right, and I did my exponents. We don't have parentheses. Multiplying or dividing. I got multiplying right here. So 25 plus 8 times 2 is 16 minus 27.
Is there a reason that we didn't simplify what's in parentheses first?
I'm doing the denominator last. I'm doing numerator first and then denominator last. Good question. You can do both at the same time. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just want to show, if you want to make it as simple as possible, simplify the numerator and then simplify the denominator and then divide them. But there's nothing wrong with doing both at the same time. Nothing at all. I'm just going to do a little bit at a time. All right, then we're down to adding and subtracting. What comes first? We're adding here, okay, 25, let me put down here, 25 and 16. 6 plus 5 is 11, 2, 3, 41. 41 minus 27. I'm just going to erase that so it's not in the way. And then we got one more thing for our numerator. My pen turns on, there you go. Okay, so we have 41 minus 27. Let me do that real quick. I couldn't take 7 from 1, so I had to borrow from the 4 to make it a 3. I add 10 to the 1, so 11 minus 7 is 4. 3 minus 2 is 1. So I get 14. Now, the numerator is completely simplified. So now let's concentrate on the denominator. So first I'd have to do the parentheses. If I do 3 minus 2, I just get 1. And 14 over, now I multiply, 2 times 1 is 2. And now I can divide and I get my answer is 7. And if you're really good at this, you can do the numerator and denominator at the same time. It's not a problem at all. I just want to show little tiny pieces. Okay, any question on that? Anything? No? Okay, that's that section. That is your exponents, basic exponents. You're looking at what it means to be an exponent going into your order of operations. Definitely practice your order of operations. The more you practice, the better you get at it. All right, any last minute questions before I go to 1-8, which is our last section? Okay, awesome. Excellent, 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 excellent. Hey, last section before a test, yay. And it's algebra. So we get to start looking at algebra. Great. Okay, 1.8. Okay, introduction to variables. Algebraic expressions. This is what's in this section. And equations. If you don't understand any of those words yet, you will. We're going to talk about vocabulary here in a minute. So we're going to talk about variables, algebraic expressions, and equations. Okay, so a variable is a letter that represents a number. I guess let's make it, let's put numerical value. Doesn't have to be a number, but and right now we're going to think of it as a number. So you will see variables throughout your math studies, just everywhere. So it's really important to know how to use a variable, how to solve for a variable, how to simplify with variables, and that's what we're all going to be working on. Okay, now very, 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 very important are these two words: expression versus equation. They get very mixed up a lot. If you're one of those people that mixes up a lot, yeah, I used to mess up a lot too when I was in school. Okay, here's the only thing that keeps them separate. An expression does not have an equal. Equation has an equal. And actually, if you sort of kind of look at the word, equation, you almost see the word equal in there. See that equal kind of without the L? So equation has that equal part. Okay, let me give you an example of each. So an expression. Example of expression, 3x plus 2. 5 is an expression. I know it's a number, but it's also an algebraic expression. How about an equation? How about 3x plus 2 equals 10? That's your equation. 5 equals for P, it doesn't have to be X, it can be P, A, B. We're gonna use all different kind of variables. At first, we're gonna start with X, and then we're gonna go down from there.
You lost me.
Okay, tell me where.
Why is there a 5 under 3x? Under
Oh.
expression.
It's an expression. It's a number, but it's also an expression. It doesn't have an equal sign. So even though it's a number, it can be an expression too. You can have
Okay.
X next to it. You can have P next to it. It's still just, as long as it's not an equal sign, it's an expression.
Okay.
Okay. That's all you're looking for, equal, not equal. So let's look at this. Expression or equation. Question mark. Let's look at a couple. So if I have 1/2 x plus 3, that doesn't have an equal sign, so that's an expression. 2. X plus 3 equals 5. Well, that has an equal part, so that's an equation. There's also another way to think of expression equations. So an expression, when you have an expression, you're going to simplify it if possible. So when you ask for an expression, it'll say simplify. If you have an equation, they're not going to use the word simplify, they're going to use the word solve. So you're solving for the variable. So expression you can simplify, an equation you can solve. That's something coming up, we're not there yet. Okay, so now we're actually going to simplify an expression. We're not going to solve an equation yet. We're coming up. So first thing is, another word for simplify would also be evaluate, which means just find the answer. What is it if you simplify it? So we're going to evaluate an expression. You guys all right if I turn the page? Looks like you guys are right. Okay. So we are going